Okay guys, welcome back to the channel, and I've got another trendy max cushion shoe for you. This time we are looking at the ASICS Glideride Max. And if you were a Glideride fan, then you are definitely excited about this one. Let's get into it. Before we get started, I do just want to say that this video is in partnership with my friends over at Roadrunner Sports. Now, Roadrunner Sports was good enough to send me this pair of the ASICS Glideride Max for the purpose of review. However, they haven't told me what to say, they haven't had any editorial privileges, and all the thoughts and opinions are my own. With that said, you're going to be able to pick up a pair of the ASICS Glideride Max from Roadrunner Sports for $170. And of course, I'll place links in the show notes below in case you want to pick up a pair for yourself. But let's jump right into it by telling you exactly what you are going to use this shoe for. And according to ASICS, and now me after I've tested it, so this is a long run cruiser. This is going to be ideal for those longer efforts when you're going to go out and you just want a comfortable option. You want to be able to forget about it because you are just bathed in comfort. I mean, this is also going to be a gem for those daily miles that are also pretty easy. And that's mainly because of the Max added onto the end of Glideride Max. And in this case, you're probably wondering what makes it Max. Well, in the men's version, we have 44 in the heel, 38 in the forefoot for a 6mm drop. And in the women's version, they just take off a millimeter of stack height. So we have 43 in the heel, 37 in the forefoot, again for a 6mm drop. Now, ASICS claims that in a US men's size 9, it'll tip the scale at 10.2 ounces or 290 grams. However, in my size, a US men's size 13, the Glideride Max tips the scale at 12.3 ounces or 349 grams. So at this point, for my size, 349 grams doesn't sound very light, but I'll say it now and I'll probably repeat it later on. But the Glideride Max rides like a lighter shoe than the scale suggests. And it's certainly just a little lighter than another shoe that you may consider if you're looking for the Glideride Max, and that's the ASICS Nimbus 26, and in my size the Nimbus 26 tips the scale at 373 grams, so that's 24 grams more. The Nimbus 26 also has 42 in the heel, 34 in the forefoot for an 8mm drop, and it costs $160, so it's $10 less than the Glideride Max. The next comparable shoe I have for you is the Hoka Skyflow, and in my size this tips the scale at 339 grams, so it's a little lighter than the Glideride Max. The Hoka Skyflow has 40 in the heel, 35 in the forefoot for a 5mm drop, and just like the Nimbus 26, costs $160. And finally, the Brooks Glycerin 21 tips the scale in my size at 336 grams. So again, a little lighter than the Glideride Max, 13 grams lighter in my size. And the Glycerin 21 has 40 in the heel, 30 in the forefoot for a 10mm drop, and again weighs $160. So the competition is about $10 less than the Glideride Max, but that's not a reason to rule out this shoe, especially because the competition does everything that this shoe does, like it's the same use case scenario for the Nimbus, the Skyflow, and the Glycerin as you would use for the Glideride Max. Now, I'll tell you right now that I actually prefer the ride of the Glideride Max over any of those other shoes, and I'll tell you why in the ride section. But let's talk about the shoe itself, and of course we'll start at the top and work our way down. We have a nice padded heel collar. The step-in comfort of the Glideride Max is spot on. Of course, because this is a daily trainer, a long run shoe, there is going to be a lot of padding, and generally I'm not a fan of it in and of itself. Like, I think a little less padding would do the same job, but there's no arguing with how comfortable a lot of padding is. Also, if I hold this up, you can see it's just a smooth curve from the outside of the shoe into the padding around the heel collar. Now, if we look at the Nimbus 26 and I hold this up, the Nimbus 26 is just a little more premium looking, premium feeling, because we have this very thin knit piece coming around the top of the heel collar, and that just adds a little refinement in my opinion. The Glideride Max on the other hand is a little more traditional, which there's nothing wrong with that. Just for those $10 more, it's funny that, at least in my opinion, the Nimbus looks a little more refined. Now, the heel collar of the Glideride Max is super firm, super rigid. You're not going to have any heel slip in this shoe, and we do have a heel pull right here on the back, and you get a bonus pull on the tongue here on the front. So ASICS has made this to be an excuse-free shoe for getting these shoes on. You can just pull on all of this and the shoe slides on nicely. Now, something I did just want to point out about this heel pull, like, it's great. It's big enough to put my finger in, it works well, it looks nice. But again, if I compare it to the heel pull on the Nimbus 26, the Nimbus 26, again, is just a little more refined. In fact, it's built into the heel collar and it just comes around, and it's a nice knit material, it's a little stretchy. The heel pull on the Glideride Max is just like a little sewn on piece, which is absolutely fine. If this were not an ASICS shoe in the same price range as the Nimbus 26, I wouldn't even think twice about it. But just because it is $10 more than the Nimbus 26, I'm being a little nitpicky. But don't worry, the Glideride Max is going to redeem itself by the end of this video. For the upper, ASICS is using a standard engineered mesh. It's very nice, it does the job. There aren't many overlays, but this is a daily trainer, so the upper does have a lot of reinforcements from underlays. We've got the ASICS branding on the lateral and medial side, big underlay coming around the toe box, and of course those standard overlays coming along the eyelet chain. Now, it's an engineered mesh mesh. The shoe overall is built very sturdy, and I don't think this is the most breathable shoe. I've got no way to measure the breathability of the Glideride Max compared with the Nimbus 26, but I would say that both shoes are not very breathable, although the Glideride Max is slightly more breathable. The tongue on the Glideride Max is very thinly padded, which is a huge bonus. You know how much I hate it when shoe companies overstuff their tongues. The tongue is gusseted, and there is a lace loop right here on the front, right in front of the tongue pull. Now the gusseting of the Glideride Max is very nice. Those gussets don't give a lot of room for your foot to move around, so when you put your foot into the Glideride Max, you do get a nice feeling that your foot is locked in and kind of surrounded by material. It's fairly pleasant. ASICS is including their Ortholite X55 sock liner, and of course that's fully removable in case you wanted to take it out and replace it with something else, something more custom. But now we're moving on to my favorite part of the shoe. Actually, it's my favorite part of most shoes, but that's the midsole foam. And the very best part of the Glideride Max is that ASICS has introduced a brand new foam. They're calling it Flight Foam Blast Max. And the Glideride Max is using a dual density setup. So on the top, we have a layer of Flight Foam Blast Max, and you can see that on mine, it's the white layer. And then underneath, we have about 2/3 of the midsole using Flight Foam Blast Plus Eco. Now, you're all very familiar with Flight Foam Blast Plus Eco, probably less so with Flight Foam Blast Max. But the Flight Foam Blast Max is ASICS' most responsive training shoe foam, and it's a lot softer than the Flight Foam Blast Plus Eco. But I do have a durometer right here, so let me just do a test right on camera. We're going to see how much softer the Flight Foam Blast Max is. All right, I'm getting 23, 24 on the durometer of the Flight Foam Blast Max on the front, a little firmer on the front. We got 25, and then moving on to the Flight Foam Blast Plus Eco on the heel area, we have 29, and on the forefoot, oh, it's a lot firmer. On the forefoot, we're up to 30.5. So numerically, the differences aren't that far apart, but the Flight Foam Blast Max is definitely softer. And that adds to a nice step-in feel and a softer ride, and the undertone of slightly firmer foam with the Flight Foam Blast Plus Eco. Now ASICS is including a 3/4 length EVA plate. So that plate starts at about 3/4, so about here, and comes out in a spoon shape over the forefoot. Now this plate is more for stability rather than propulsion. This is not a race day shoe. I don't think anyone thought it was a race day shoe, but I just want to make sure. Now to me, that plate wasn't noticeable. I tried really hard to notice it. If I didn't know the plate was there, I would never know the plate was there because it didn't feel like a propulsive plate, but it's there to give a little stability, and I think it worked for that. The Glideride Max is a neutral shoe, but it rides fairly stable. Now if we come down to the outsole, you can see we've got the hybrid ASICS grip, and this is just a blend of ASICS Best Rubber to give you a blend of grip and durability. You can see we've got a Hard Plus right here on the back, because that's where a lot of people are going to be touching down first, and this lateral heel tends to get a lot of wear. The outsole rubber and that shallow channel running through the middle is very reminiscent of the Nimbus 26. Of course, the rubber is just a slightly different pattern on the Glideride Max, but you can tell these two are in the same family. Now, there is a good amount of outsole rubber on the Glideride Max, and looking at it, this AHR Plus on the heel is holding up very well for me. I am noticing just a little bit of wear on the rubber up here, although nothing to write home about. And then I'm seeing just a little bit of wear on this exposed midsole foam, and that's just because when my foot touches down, it's going to press that midsole foam to flatten out and touch the ground. So that's where I'm getting just a little bit of wear. But overall, there is so much outsole rubber on the Glideride Max that I'd say these are going to last an average to above average amount of miles. The Glideride Max is using ASICS guide sole technology, and that's their rocker technology. And ultimately, this is what the Glideride is known for. It's known for that rocker geometry, that feeling of just rolling through your gait cycle. Now, you already know that the Glideride has been gone for a couple of years, 2 years, I think, and I haven't run in the Glideride since the first version. And I remember that first version. It took me a couple of runs to get used to it, but once I did, I've got to say, it was a very pleasing ride. I almost said fun, but I don't remember it being fun because it's still a daily trainer, but that original Glideride was effortless to run in because of that rocker technology. Now, the Glideride Max does not have that same extreme rocker geometry as my memory of the first one, but it's still there. It's still noticeable. And it's because of that guide sole technology that I think separates the Glideride Max from the Nimbus 26, from the Hoka Skyflow, and from the Glycerin 21, because it makes the ride just a little more effortless. And I would also maybe use the word fun. I mean, fun as far as a daily trainer, a long run shoe can be fun. It isn't the same type of fun that I would use to describe a race day shoe, but I do like that softer foam underfoot. I like how the shoe just kind of rolls me forward, and I've said it, this is probably the third time I've said it, but it provides an effortless ride. And it's for that reason that I would choose the Glideride Max over at least those other three comparables that we talked about. Now, I do have to say, $170 is a lot of money. And I wish that ASICS had priced it just a little lower. Even $160 would be better. But still, if I had the choice of a long run shoe, I would go with the Glideride Max over the comparables, basically because of the ride, because of how smooth it was. So even though I started out this video by saying that it's a little less premium looking and feeling than the Nimbus 26, ultimately that doesn't matter. For how I run, like my running style, the types of run that I'd like to do, like most of my runs are pretty easy. The Glideride Max feels really good underfoot. So now I want to hear from you. Did you run in any of the previous Glide Rides? So the original, the 2, the 3? And if you did, are you thinking about picking up a pair of the Glideride Max? And with that, it's Matt B. This has been my review of the ASICS Glideride Max. Again, I'll place a link to these in Roadrunner Sports in case you want to pick up a pair for yourself. Be kind, be happy, run well. See you in a couple of days.